300 years ago, the will of heaven appeared. Countless secret kingdoms and dungeons descended to Earth. Along with them came numerous powerful demons who proclaimed the apocalypse for humanity. After the initial chaos, the awakened emerged. The job changers possessed a powerful power that helped them defeat those monsters and save the world from its near destruction. To fight against the monsters, the job changers continued to explore the secret kingdoms in order to obtain wealth and materials. Nations began working hard to cultivate these job changers, allowing everyone to awaken at the age of 18. The day came to awaken a class for students turning 18. To awaken a class, one had to touch a magical blue crystal. Several students touched the crystal. One student named Wang Wei from the third year of class 2 failed to awaken a class and was labeled as a student without a class. Another student named Lai Wei from class 3 of the year successfully awakened the swordsman class. Another student named Wang Hao from class 3 of the second year successfully awakened the crafter class. The awakenings were usually divided into 3 categories, according to their class: combat, support, and creation. The combat category was the most practical and everyone wanted to obtain it, while on the other hand, no one wanted to obtain the creation category, since in this category were those who couldn't fight and were considered the weakest and despised by everyone. Several more students touched the crystal and the student with purple hair became happy as he awakened the combat category called magic swordsman. On the other hand, another student became sad and started crying because he had awakened the creation category. He began to wonder why he had managed to awaken this class that was not good for combat. After the awakening ceremony was completed, the class range was also divided, usually into 4 categories: common, secret, and divine. Among them, a divine rank was the rarest. This rank could only be seen once every 100 years. It was our protagonist's turn, Jiang Chen, to touch the crystal and awaken a class. He touched the crystal and it began emitting a powerful light. Upon seeing this, the other students were astonished. A brown-haired boy pointed his finger at Jiang Chen and told everyone that he was the prodigy of the academy. Another student informed the others that this was a sign of an awakening. While Jiang Chen was touching the crystal, it began to emit a powerful light that started advancing rapidly towards the sky. The students began to wonder what rank this class was. Several thought it could be a divine class, as Jiang City hadn't produced a divine talent in hundreds of years. In a matter of seconds, the crystal started emitting a powerful light that formed a giant tree in the sky, visible from every corner of the city. It was said that every time a divine rank class awakens, a phenomenon occurs that can shake the heavens and the earth. Several seconds later, the awakening of the class was successful, and while Jiang Chen was touching the crystal with one hand, he put his other hand in his pants pocket and simply stared at the sky. At that moment, Director Wang appeared. He approached Jiang Chen and congratulated him for being the pride of the school. Although he knew that Jiang Chen could awaken a combat class, he did not expect him to awaken a divine class. After saying this, Director Wang asked Jiang Chen which class he had awakened. Jiang Chen turned his head slightly towards the director and was somewhat surprised. With a smile, he explained to Director Wang that the class he had awakened was not a combat class. Upon hearing this, Director Wang was shocked. With a surprised look on his face, he started looking at Jiang Chen. Seeing that Jiang hadn't awakened a combat class, he asked him if he had then awakened a support class. Jiang Chen turned his body towards Director Wang, extended his hands to the sides, and plants made of spirits appeared in the palms of his hands. He revealed to everyone that he had awakened the creation class of divine rank called Spiritual Master. He also added that this talent was meant to assist with the growth of plantations and small creatures. Upon hearing this, both the director and others were shocked. With a surprised look, he began to stare at Jiang Chen and explained that this was bad because the creation class did not have combat abilities. So even divine rank was considered useless. The professor accompanying Director Wang asked Jiang Chen not to be discouraged since even if he couldn't fight, at least he could be safe. He explained that spiritual masters were quite popular in the field of research. He also added that the recommendation he had promised was no longer possible. He advised Jiang Chen to enter the research field as a professor could get him a letter of recommendation. Just before the professor could finish speaking, Jiang Chen interrupted him. He turned his head towards him and thanked him with a smile. He put his hands in his jacket pockets and while walking away from the professors, he explained that he had something to do. One of the students started laughing and told his classmate that this was a farce, as he had thought Jiang Chen had attained some kind of divine combat class. But it turned out to be just the creation class. The other student put his hand near his face and told his friend that life was full of surprises. He also added that everyone thought Jiang The prodigy of the academy would awaken a combat class, and now no matter how much he excelled academically, he would be considered useless. Jiang Chen put his hands in his pants pockets and began heading towards the exit. While the students nearby started mocking him, one of the students told the others that this was quite enjoyable to watch, as Jiang Chen had been the king of hard work since he entered the academy. Another student told the others that he had worked so hard only to end up getting a creation class. Another student told the others that Lin, the school beauty who always came in second place, had awakened a secret combat class. Upon hearing so many jokes, Jiang Chen simply smiled and thought that just a moment ago, those two students had been very cruel to him. He hadn't expected that awakening up with a creation class would change things so drastically. Thinking about this, he had no doubt that in this world only strength mattered. He began to wonder what was wrong with the creation class, so he reached out his hand and a system window appeared above the palm of his hand. According to the system notification, Jiang Chen had successfully completed his class awakening. He had awakened the class called Divine Rank Spiritual Master, and the conditions for opening the Natural Calamity Insect System had also been fulfilled, with the initial Mother of Insects being unlocked. Jiang Chen turned his head to the side, and as he stared at the system window, he couldn't help but smile, thinking that this class was a perfect fit for him. The name of our protagonist was Jiang Chen. After dying, he was reborn in this awakened world. After the Dark Era ended, the whole world became filled with various monsters and dungeons. It was from that day that this world began to respect the strong. He had been reborn as an orphan to survive in this harsh world. Despite having nothing in this world, he gave it his all before turning 18. He thought he was going to have to rely on his own skills to make a living. To his surprise, a month ago, on an ordinary day, a system window appeared in front of him to inform him that the insect calamity system would be merged after class awakening, and the system would activate after a successful transfer. Jiang Chen put his hand on his chin, and while looking at the system window, he thought that the insect race, which had once devastated humanity during the Dark Era, was an extremely powerful race. He had heard that the last time a natural calamity occurred, 9 out of the 12 kings of the human race were sacrificed to seal it. He clenched his fist tightly and thought that in this world, strength was everything. There was nothing to doubt. He began to stare fixedly at the system window, and while his body emitted a powerful energy, he thought that as long as he could use the strength of the insect race for himself, the insect race would have no chance against him. Without thinking any further, Jiang Chen activated the system, and by doing so, he was teleported inside the system. He started looking around and became somewhat confused. He began to look ahead. He put his hand near his head to cover his eyes and thought that this was his own sea of consciousness. In front of him there was a great spiritual tree. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chen began to wonder if this was his talent. He had not expected it to be a tree. More system windows appeared. Jiang Chen had several class talents. These talents were evolutions of all things, and sacrifice was required. They could be used once every 10 days and were limited to one use per target. The first talent was called Fruits of All Things. Through sacrifice, Jiang Chen could advance the growth progress of fruits, and a special fruit could randomly fall. The second talent was called Improved Growth. This ability allowed him to increase the growth rate of living beings. Currently, this ability increased the growth rate by 10%. By using this ability, Jiang could accelerate the growth of all living beings, and the duration of cooldown was 8 hours. Jiang Chen put his hand on his chin, and while he was looking at the system window, he thought that this system was good since it had even proactively analyzed his talent. Although these talents seemed to lack combat ability, each one could be applied to his system. While he was distracted, a system window appeared asking him if he would like to start summoning the mother insect. Without hesitation, Jiang Chen asked the system to summon the mother insect. At that moment, an evil energy began to emerge from the ground, and a system notification window appeared to inform him that the mother insect was being summoned. As Jiang stared at the energy, he thought that the mother insect had a strong presence. Several seconds later, another system window appeared to inform him that the summoning of the natural calamity rank mother insect called 9 Wings of Miasma had been successfully completed. The mother of the insects was a gigantic creature. She began to stare at Jiang Chen, who took several steps back and was amazed. The status window of the mother of the insects appeared. She was called Nine Miasma Wing. From the abyss she was known as the sovereign of death. Once as a calamity, she caused a catastrophe as great as a natural disaster and then disappeared during the Third Era. The current devouring value of her was 0%. Jiang had a 100% affinity with the insect mother. Jiang had to proceed with the devouring and start breeding the next generation of insects to unlock abilities. The insect mother approached Jiang, who was amazed and began wondering why she was so enormous. The insect mother began to stare at Jiang and addressed him as a master. She introduced herself as Little Nine and explained that she was very hungry and wanted to devour fierce beasts. Another system window appeared to inform him that the growth rate of the insect mother had increased by 10%. Now, Jiang could use a sacrificial object to enhance this target. The first enhancement would not consume any sacrificial objects thanks to his talent. Jiang slightly raised his head and while looking at the system window, he thought that now that he didn't need to use a sacrificial object, there was no time to waste. Without hesitation, he asked the system to upgrade the insect mother. The body of the insect mother began to envelop itself in a powerful green light, and while Jiang was observing this, he thought that she needed to devour in order to level up, so she wasn't going to be easy to please. The body of the insect mother started emitting a powerful aura, and quickly Jiang assumed an offensive stance. Little by little, the insect mother began to evolve and take on the form of a human woman. Several seconds later, the insect mother successfully evolved. Her body began to emit a powerful aura. She had white hair and wore armor. With a murderous look, she started staring at Jiang. Slowly, she began to advance towards Jiang, and a system window appeared above her head. The queen of the new plague had undergone a vital transition and leveled up. Along with leveling up, she gained new abilities. The first ability was called Nurture. With this ability, she could share the experience 10 times with the host. The second ability was called Poisonous Mist. With this ability, she could transform into deadly miasma corroding everything. The third and final ability was called Communion. This ability allowed her to enhance all of the host's abilities by 20%. Upon seeing the form of the insect mother, Jiang was surprised. The mother insect gained momentum and pounced on Jiang to give him a hug. She explained to him that Little Nine had evolved. Jiang was somewhat confused as he didn't know what was happening. He turned his head slightly towards her and couldn't help but blush upon seeing that the insect mother had evolved into a human form. She stopped hugging Jiang, and he started stroking her head. She closed her eyes, clenched both fists, and referred to Giant as a master. With a smile, she explained that Little Nine wanted to devour flesh and blood. While Jiang was stroking her head, a status window appeared above her head. Her name was Nine Miasma Wing, and she had 4 abilities: Poison, Mist, Feed, Fury, and United. Currently, her devouring value was 0. Once the devouring value bar was filled up, she could start spawning offspring. She had 2 passive abilities called Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. While Jiang was stroking Little Nine's head, he started looking at her stat window and thought that the spiritual master talent could accelerate the devouring growth of the insect mother, as well as her experience growth, which in turn would speed up his own improvement. Furthermore, the insect mother was capable of increasing all his attributes by 20%. Jiang's class and this system were a perfect combination. With this, he didn't need a combat class. He extended his hands to the sides, and a bunch of insects started coming out of the palm of his hands. He turned his head towards the insects and was amazed. As long as he killed and devoured quickly, he could soon have an army of insects. Jiang turned his head towards the great spiritual tree and thought about what the system message had just mentioned. Insects, abyss, a catastrophe as big as a natural calamity. Combined with this incomplete information, it was clear that this was not something that could easily be shown to others. Being discovered could lead him to his demise. He put his hands in his pockets, and while he was looking at the spiritual tree, for now he decided to use his class identity as creation, and the poisonous miasma abilities of the insect mother is covered to devour monsters and increase his strength. Hiding was not Jiang's style. He wanted to become strong enough to show off his skills to the world. While he was lost in thought, the sea of consciousness water began to move. Seeing this, the insect mother quickly jumped up and started flying. As they both looked at the water, Jiang explained to her that this could only mean one thing. At that moment, with a murderous look, the insect mother turned her head back and caught Jiang's attention. While she was looking back, she started to smile and explained to Jiang that she felt there was a threat. At that moment, Jiang exited the system space, and upon seeing what was in front of him, he was shocked. In front of him there was a man much taller than him. This man had black hair, a beard, and had a scar on his eye. The man approached Jiang and started staring into his eyes, remaining remaining silent for several seconds. The man asked Jong if the awakening phenomenon that the whole city had seen before had been activated by him. While Jong was staring at the man, he clenched his teeth tightly and realized that he was at least a master rank or higher. He became alert and started wondering why he was being sought after. While the man was staring intently at Jong, his body began to emit a powerful green aura. The people around approached, and even though the man was quite far away, they could feel his strong aura. They started wondering what level of awakened he was. Seeing that he was talking to Jong Cheng, they began to wonder if there was some kind of conflict. The man began to stare into Jong's eyes, and upon seeing this, he became somewhat nervous as it was quite strange. This man had been pressuring Jong for a while now without even saying a word, and he didn't know if the man was testing him. At that moment, the insect mother appeared. While she was licking her finger, she approached Jong and with a murderous look in her eyes towards the man, she told Jong that this man was a threat to him. To her, the man seemed delicious and she wanted to devour him. Jong panicked and knew something was wrong. His suspicions were not incorrect as several warning windows from the system appeared. The insect mother had detected a threat to Jong. The system considered that the man would provide a high value for devouring, and the insect mother was about to start devouring him. Jong's body began to emit a powerful aura, which started spreading in all directions. He quickly realized something was wrong because now Little Nine had detected a threat, and she was going to start attacking. Jong's powerful aura reached the students who were previously mocking him. They began covering their faces with their arms and wondering why Jong had such a cold and sinister aura. Jong became furious. With a murderous look, he began to stare into the man's eyes. He realized that when the devouring value was low, the aggressiveness of the insect mother increased. To prevent this from happening, he needed to find some monsters for Little Nine to devour as soon as possible. Seeing the powerful aura emanating from Jong, the man simply started smiling, and upon seeing the man's smile, Jong quickly realized that he wanted to test his strength, but unintentionally activated the insect mother. The good thing was that Jong was still able to suppress the insect mother. Without hesitation, Jong suppressed the insect mother and a system window appeared. He had temporarily suppressed the insect mother and her devouring value was low, so that this would not happen again. Jong had to start with the devouring and breeding of the insect mother as soon as possible. While the man had his hands in his jacket pockets, he began to stare at Jong and couldn't help but congratulate him. Although Jong had just finished his awakening, he was already able to face the man's tests and even counterattack. The man told Jong that he was worthy of a divine awakening, and he also added that his future was limitless. Jong simply stayed silent, listening. He felt relieved as he hadn't been discovered. He approached the man and while staring into his eyes, asked him who he was. The man began to smile, then extended his hand and introduced himself as Jai Gang, the leader of the Night Watch. He admired Jong's strength and asked if he wanted to join them. Upon hearing this, Jong was surprised as he did not expect Jai Gang to be part of the Night Watch. The Night Watch was an organization specially tasked by Grand Zia with resisting demons and hordes of beasts. Whenever there was a wave of beasts or a new secret realm or dungeon was generated, the Night Watch would always be the first to investigate or eliminate them directly. Due to the constant fight on the front lines, the mortality rate of the Night's Watch was extraordinarily high, and most people avoided it, but for Jong it was different. The insect mother needed to continuously devour the flesh and blood of monsters to accumulate devouring value and produce offspring. Currently, Jong needed an opportunity to confront large monsters, and once the devouring value was complete, the insect mother would start reproducing, and no one knew how much commotion she would cause. For this reason, the wild nature was a good place for breeding the insect mother, as long as Jong joined the Night Watch, whether by devouring or reproducing. The risks they presented could be easily dealt with. While Jong was looking at Jai Gang's hand, he couldn't help but smile since the Night Watch organization was perfect for him. The students started saying that the Night Watch had a high mortality rate. Most people didn't even go there, so the students thought that Jong Cheng wouldn't join the Night Watch. Upon hearing this, Jai Gang forced a smile at Jong and told him that all the rumors about the Night Watch were a thing of the past. In order to prevent Jong from rejecting the offer, Jai Gang told him that as long as he was willing to join them, he would receive comprehensive training. Due to his divine rank, his resources were very valuable to the Night Watch. Without thinking twice, Jong shook hands with Jai Gang and called him leader, telling him that there was no need for further explanation. Jong began to stare into Jai Gang's eyes and told him that in order to restore the glory of the Night Watch, their generation should not shy away from their duty. After saying this, he explained to Jai Gang that he was willing to join the Night Watch. Upon hearing this, Jai Gang became somewhat confused. What he didn't know was that Jong planned on relying on them for the insect breeding. Jai Gang was shocked and asked Jong if this was true. Just before Jong could answer his question, the mother insect appeared and started sending system notification windows to Jong. She was very furious. She explained to Jong that she was not happy with this because she wanted to eat the man. After saying this, she started telling him that she was very hungry. Upon hearing this, he became nervous, closed his eyes and told Jai Gang that what he was saying was true. After saying this, he left with the excuse of having an important task to do. He began to distance himself from Jai Gang, slightly turned his head towards him, waved goodbye and told him that in 3 days he would be punctually present at the Night Watch headquarters. Jai Gang simply turned his head towards him and remained silent. He may have thought that this was going to be more complicated. He hadn't expected it to be so simple. He had forgotten to ask Jong what hidden profession he had. At that moment, 2 men fell from the sky and landed near Jai Gang. One of them was the 8th elder of the martial arts academy. Jai Gang turned his head towards them and told the elder that if he was here to snatch people from the night watch. Then he had arrived too late. The elder asked Jai Gang where the guy who awakened a divine rank creation class was. Upon hearing this, Jai Gang became somewhat confused. He turned his head towards the old man and asked him what he was talking about. The old man approached him and, while looking into his eyes with a surprised expression, asked if he was planning to let a divine ranked awaken from the creation category join the Night Watch just to die. Upon hearing this, Jai Gang realized that Jong had the divine rank creation class. At the same time, Jong went to the city. A man named Uncle Wang asked him if he had been the one who caused the phenomenon in the main city. Jong replied yes. A woman with purple hair approached Uncle Wang. She put her hand on her waist and asked him to lower his voice so he could die if someone looking for trouble came. Uncle Wang put his hand behind his head, closed his eyes, and started laughing. He told her that he was always talking non-stop. Jong approached them, closed his eyes, and with a smile he reassured Uncle Wang not to worry because this was not something embarrassing. Uncle Wang turned his head towards Jong and told him that even though the creation category couldn't fight, he had heard that companies always cultivated spiritual plants that needed people from the creation category. He told Jong that if his parents were here, they would be very proud of him. Throughout the years, Jong had been able to survive thanks to the support of everyone living in the same building as him. With a smile, he told them all that he wouldn't forget them in the future. Uncle Wang asked him not to worry about these small things. He also added that Jong had arrived at the right time as they were about to go to a beginner-level secret realm to obtain some equipment. Uncle Wang wanted Jong to join them and level up together. Jong accepted the proposal and thanked Uncle Wang. At that moment, a system message appeared because he had completed the team formation. Several minutes later, Jong and the others crossed the portal and entered the secret realm. While Jong had his hands in the jacket pockets, he began to look around and started wondering if this really was the interior of the secret realm. At that moment, the torches of the secret realm lit up because the matching had been completed. All the monsters inside started looking towards Jong and the others. This secret realm called Temple of the Dead was a C rank one, and it was currently open. The secret realm guaranteed a 100% drop rate for items and equipment. Experience points were going to be calculated after completing the secret realm. Voluntarily leaving halfway meant giving up on both experience and equipment. Uncle Wang became somewhat nervous as he realized that these monsters were undead soldiers. He began to wonder why the secret realm system had matched them with a dungeon of this level. Jong started looking at the undead soldiers and realized that this secret realm was not going to be easy to deal with. The girl with purple hair approached them and explained to Uncle Wang that because Jong was a divine ranked awakened, the celestial system had assigned them a higher level secret realm. Uncle Wang slightly turned his head towards her and reminded her that Jiang Cheng had awakened in the creation category. The girl with brown hair also approached Uncle Wang, and while looking at the undead soldiers, she asked him why they didn't abandon this secret realm. Just before she could finish speaking, Uncle Wang interrupted her. He began unsheathing his sword and told everyone that there was no problem, as they didn't come across secret realms of this level every day. He also added that this time, thanks to having Jiang with them, they would be lucky and get some great equipment drops. Seeing Uncle Wang unsheath his sword enraged the undead soldiers. Uncle Wang gathered momentum and while advancing towards the monsters, he asked Jiang to step back a bit since these undead soldiers were more dangerous than average C-rank monsters. Uncle Wang asked Jiang to stay behind while they advanced towards the core of the dungeon first. Uncle Wang attacked one of the undead soldiers with his sword, delivering a strong blow to its head. He turned his head back and asked Xiaozai to quickly improve his talent. Upon hearing this, Xiaozai clasped her hands together and activated her power, causing Uncle Wang's talent to improve. Thanks to this enhancement, Uncle Wang ended the life of the undead soldier monster. While Uncle Wang and the others were fighting, Jiang simply stood by watching from afar. He began to wonder if they fought against monsters every day just to survive. When thinking about this, he had no doubt why they always came back covered in wonder. Yet Xiaozai had always supported him. He had heard that she became an adventurer because she was forced to heal her brother's eyes. While he was staring at Uncle Wang and the others, he thought about becoming stronger quickly, and when he earned money, properly thanking them. While he was distracted, the insect mother began to manifest herself. She put her hand under her chin and while looking at the undead soldier's corpse, she told Jiang that there were many monsters and blood here, and she wanted to devour them. While Jiang had his hands in his pants pocket, he turned his body towards the undead soldier's corpse and started smiling. He thought that Little Nine had already detected the corpse. Given this situation, Jiang decided to first test Little Nine's abilities. He reached out his hand to the side and used the level 1 poison barrier skill called Corrosion. A fog of poison appeared in his palm, and he ordered Little Nine to devour the undead soldier's corpse. She thanked him, and the poison fog began to advance towards the corpses and slowly started to devour them. In a matter of seconds, the monster corpses began to disappear. Jiang realized that the monster corpses corroded as soon as they made contact with the poisonous fog. After seeing this, Jiang had no doubt that Little Nine's poisonous fog was very powerful. After Little Nine devoured the corpse, the devouring value rose to 10 points. The level of the monsters was too low, causing the growth rate to be slow, so Little Nine needed to devour more monsters. While Jiang had one hand in his pocket, he slightly turned his head back and thought that Uncle Wang and the other two were truly partners who had been working together for years. In such a short time, they had already advanced to the depths of the dungeon. Since the poisonous mist was an area skill and Jiang still couldn't control it accurately, there could still be accidental injuries. To avoid this, Jiang decided to follow Uncle Wang and the others from behind and take care of the monsters' corpses. At that moment, Little Nine caught his attention. She told Jiang that she felt something. Jiang turned his head to the side and saw more monsters starting to emerge from the ground. Little Nine told him that she sensed freshness and blood in that direction. These monsters were level 10 shadow lurkers. They had a strength of 20 points, agility of 15 points, defense of 10 points, and stamina of 5 points. These monsters were lurking in the shadows to hunt down the weaker stragglers. While Jiang was staring at the shadow lurker monster, he began to wonder if its name was in red because its level was much higher than his. However, in terms of attributes, these monsters were completely inferior to Jiang, who had the skill enhancement united. A statistics window of Jiang appeared. He had a devouring value of level 1. His identity was the Lord of Insects. His occupation was Divine Rank Spiritual Master, and he had 3 level 1 talents called Growth of All Things, Divine Evolution, and Ancestral Tree of All Things. Jiang possessed the insect mother named Little Nine, or better known as Nine Miasma Wing. She had a natural calamity level. He didn't have any equipment. He had 35 points in strength, 31 in agility, 27 in endurance, and 20 in constitution. His combat power score was 41 stars. Currently, he had 2 active passive abilities called Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. The current devouring value was 100 and the current experience was 0. Jiang decided to test his skills. He reached out to one side and gave Little Nine the command to transform into a poisonous mist and follow him. She listened to him and transformed into a poisonous mist, which began to stick to the ground. At that moment, the monsters called Shadow Lurkers started advancing rapidly towards Jiang. He brought his hand close to his face, and while his hand was releasing the poisonous mist from Little Nine, he started staring at the monsters. Several seconds later, he began running towards them. Upon seeing this, the monsters tried to attack Jiang, but he dodged their attacks and in the process touched their bodies with his hand, infecting them with the poisonous mist. The monsters began to look towards the body part where Jiang had touched them, and upon seeing poisonous mist, they became confused. While Jiang was staring at the monsters, he extended his hand towards them, then clenched his fist tightly and started smiling. At that moment, Little Nine's poisonous mist grew thicker and slowly began to corrode the bodies of the monsters, gradually destroying them. Jiang simply turned his head towards the monsters and remained silently watching. At that moment, several system windows appeared, and he gained 200 special price. While Jiang was looking at the corpses of the monsters, he thought that they were no match for him. He began to smile as he saw that the devouring value was also increasing rapidly. As he was lost in his thoughts, Little Nine appeared and informed him that more blood food had appeared. Behind them, more shadow lurker monsters began to appear. Jiang simply put his hands in his pockets and remained silent without making any movement. Then he turned his head towards the monsters, and while staring at them intently, he felt worried about Uncle Wang and the others as he realized that there were actually many hidden monsters in this dungeon. He decided to quickly finish off these monsters to go check on how Uncle Wang and the others were doing. He asked Little Nine if she would be able to deal with the monsters. Little by little, she began to manifest herself through the poisonous mist. While staring at the monsters, she reached out her hand towards them and asked Jiang to leave them in her hands. As for her, all these monsters were small prey. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.